Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jacek Ziolkowski, and I'm the co-CEO of the Swedish-Polish Chamber of Commerce. Today we are meeting for yet another seminar of the Chamber. This one is going to be about green transition. Green transition, I would say it's here to stay. I mean, we are in it. If you look at Sweden, probably Sweden is in a little bit different place than Poland, because Sweden has been involved in green transition probably a little bit longer than Poland. But Poland is catching up, and it's very active and dynamic. And today we are going to hear about both perspectives of Sweden and Poland, and we are going to share on where we are, what are the developments ahead of us, so what kind of challenges we have. So this is going to be the topic of today's seminar. We have plenty of speakers today and plenty of panelists that are going to share their insights. So without further ado, I would like to invite the first two speakers actually for the first presentation. It's going to be Björn Boström and Johan Österberg from Port of Ystad.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, and let's see if you applaud after I'm done. I asked my colleague Björn which one of us should start, and he answered, let's save the best for last. So here I stand. My name is Johan Österberg. I work for the Port of Ystad as head of development. I'm quite new in the company. I've been there for about 8 months, but I'm not new to the company. I've been head of business in the municipality of Ystad for 12, 13 years. So I knew of the company pretty well. And the municipality of Ystad is, of course, the owner of Port of Ystad. The next decade in the marine industry in the Port of Ystad, we are heading toward a shift where shipping becomes more electrified and more digital at the same time. On shorter routes and ferry lines, batteries, shore power, and smart charging logistics will become standard practice. Where energy density is insufficient, we will see more hybrids and alternative fuels chosen less by ideology and more by system logic. What can be bunkered locally, what meets regulatory requirements, and what delivers long cost stability. At the same time, flows become more airport-like. Booking, check-in, security, and terminal processes, and real-time information will merge into a seamless experience. Ferry operators will compete not only on price and timetable, but on frictionless movement, automated gate process, improved predictability, and more dynamic capacity management. For freight, more planning will take place within integrated systems where vessels, terminals, and customers share the same situational awareness, shifting competition from individual actors to well-functioning logistic chains. Amid all this, resilience will emerge as a core product in itself. Climate impact, geopolitics, and extreme weather will make redundancy, flexibility, and rapid replanning just as important as pure efficiency. The winners will be those who can be both green and stable, ports that deliver energy, capacity, and reliability, and operators that offer predictability in a more volatile world. Ports and shipping are moving toward becoming fully data-driven ecosystems. Instead of planning port calls and terminal flows reactively, decisions will be supported by real-time data from vessels, vehicles, and weather systems, integrated into a shared platform. AI will be used more and more in the future for predictive port call planning, berth optimization, energy management, and dynamic pricing, but also to anticipate disruptions before they even occur. Ports and shipping are entering a clean energy transition, where electrification becomes the norm on shorter routes and import operations. More ferries and short sea vessels will be powered fully or partly by batteries, and shore power will become a standard part of port infrastructure in the future. Ports will also take a more active role as an energy hub, providing charging infrastructure, fuel handling, energy storage, and smart peak load management. Competitiveness will depend on the ability to offer both sustainable energy and reliable delivery, where climate performance and energy flexibility becomes just as important as traditional efficiency. The Port of Ystad, I will leave the mic to Björn in a little bit, but the Port of Ystad is located just 200 to 300 meters from the city center. So it's very important for the Port of Ystad to grow together with the city, and that we do. Björn, you're next. And the applause.
Yes, hello everybody. Nice to be here once again. I'm very surprised that I was invited again, but okay. We all make our mistakes. Now, to some more information about our work. Well, who is really the winner? Or are there winners and even losers in this matter? Well, looking at the environmental issues within our business, transportation, have been an issue for many years now. The demands from the customers and their customers have increased during many years, and today many of the customers even demand ISO 14001 certification. When young people today look at, let's say, looking for a new job, the first question is not today about the salary. The first question often is, how is your environmental work? How is it? What standard do you have? How do you look on the future? So that's something we all have to remember. For us, we have made several commitments during the latter years. Already in 2012, we inaugurated the OPS, the Onshore Power Supply System. A new thing in the beginning of 2010s, and we were one of the absolutely first ports in Sweden who installed power supply from the jetty to ferries. We also choose to deliver both 50 and 60 hertz current, as many ferries are built for international trade and therefore use 60 hertz current on board. The decision was taken already in 2010, and the system was inaugurated by the Swedish environmental minister in 2012. That's let's say, a point how important this was at that time. Today, 3 out of 4 vessels are connected daily. The connection helps, besides no CO2 outlet during the connection, also for noise reduction, and makes it possible still to be berthed very close to the city center, as Johan just told you. We are, since 2020, totally fossil-free. In our own company, our own operation, all vehicles, trucks, tractors, cars and other equipment run on fossil-free fuel, mainly electricity. But we also use HVO where it's possible. We were certified in 2019 in ISO 9001 and 14001. And that really helps ourselves as well to think about the environmental issues in a new way. Yes, you could say we are forced to do it because we are certified to do it, but it's a great help for the whole organization, not just for the leader. In 2021, we invested almost 35 million Swedish kronor in a pre-cleaning plant for grey and black water. You see, the vessels, the ferries, must deliver the grey and black water, and for you who don't know what grey and black water is, grey water is water from washing your hands and from the kitchen, and black water is from the toilets. Up to 2021, it was allowed to just dump it in the Baltic Sea. But from now, 2021, it's not allowed. And the ports have to receive that kind of water. Unfortunately, the water from ferries is another kind of black and grey water than we normally have from households. And we had to invest in a pre-treatment plant to be able to send the pre-treated water to the municipality treatment plant for further treatment. And that costs a lot of money. And to be frank, we can't even charge the ship owners what the cost is. And just before Christmas, the fuel company Preem opened a charging station for up to 4 lorries at the same time, just outside the port area, as a service for all lorries passing the port, and of course for lorries not passing the port from the sea. But everyone can just go down to the port and charge the lorry. So we are really trying to do something about the green transition. When looking at the OPS, the onshore power supply, this is an example of consequences, is the delivery of shore power to the ferries. From the start in 2012, we have delivered more than 32 million kilowatt hours to ferries, and that's a significant save for the environment, both from CO2 and sulfur, as well as from noise. Another thing, well, that is also what I was just saying. But another thing that's really important when you're talking about the green transition is actually train service. Between Ystad and Swinoujscie, the rail ferry Polonia sails every day, all year round, with capacity for whole train. We have capacity for even more wagons today. And this is certainly a reliable option for resilience in the transport system. Unfortunately, the Swedish road administration, Trafikverket, has in several reports stated that the train ferry was closed in 2018. So in every way we can, we are actually trying to promote this route. The train ferry is still there. So if you have any kind of heavy cargo, important cargo, defense material, etc., you can actually go by train and train ferry directly from Sweden to Poland. Now, once again, who are the winners? Well, we are. Everybody and every time. The reward cannot always be measured in money, right here and right now. We must have faith for the future, and by that keep on looking for environmental advantages. Often, an investment that is environmentally friendly does not mean that it is more expensive if you look at the whole lifespan. And so we have done a lot of investments without getting full payment here and now, but we will in the long lifespan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Björn and Johan. Yeah, we all are the winners. We will live longer and we will be able to travel between Sweden and Poland thanks to Port of Ystad and the ferries that commute between. Our next presentation is going to be by Oksana Wojtkiewicz and Marek Falkowski from ConnectPoint.
Hi everyone, Oksana and Marek from ConnectPoint. It's a really great honor for us. It's a great honor for us to be here today and to talk about energy balancing in manufacturing and tell you more about why this is so important as a part of green transition and why companies that have successfully implemented energy balancing can call themselves as winners.
Not only in manufacturing, but we need to talk after that.
Okay, so today energy is not stable anymore, and this is extremely challenging for manufacturing companies. Prices, if we talk about energy prices, they change during the day. CO2 pressure is extremely high, and also downtime wastes energy. So the manufacturers, they do not produce but they have to pay.
So most of the companies have data, enough data. If I ask you, do you need more data, more sensors? Everybody's like, no, we have enough data. So the idea is simple. Energy balancing. So use the data and reduce the energy cost and help to improve CO2 transparency. So ConnectPoint. Why we are unique? We are software house and system integrator. We connect operational technology, OT, with IT world, with the secure way. So this is not so easy, but this is why we are unique. We are experts in this domain.
We consider ourselves as an ultimate interoperability partner because there are a lot of OT and IT systems, and they mostly do not talk to each other. So in this space, especially for utilities, for energy, and for manufacturing companies, we help them to understand OT and IT and make the best of those. So we also take rare data and we transform those data to valuable and measurable results that support making daily or day-by-day operational decisions in manufacturing, but also in the energy space. So for years, energy was predictable like rent, but unfortunately not anymore. Now prices, they move during the day. Also, CO2 is extremely high. And when it comes to production, the production cost sometimes could be higher or lower just because of timing.
And of course, now the plants are very complex. There is a lot of utilities, water, steam, energy, and so on. But what we see that the decisions are slow, and there is the problem with the visibility. In the same time, we see a big pressures regarding the reduction of the CO2, reduction of the cost, and so on. So this is really something that now a lot of companies struggle.
So people, they plan production without any live view on energy costs and CO2, of course. So they react after they receive the invoice, not during the shift. And this is what we are trying to change.
Yeah, so the idea is simple, energy balancing. And energy balancing is just matching supply and demand. Demand, production line, batches, utilities, and supply. This is the grid from the network, and your on-site sources.
So we aim for the lower cost of energy in total, not about euros for kilowatt per hours, but also it's about peaks, it's about limits.
Mm-hmm. So the goal is same output, but smarter timing and better mix. So if this is so simple, why so many customers, so many factories struggle with this? We know the answer, and we will tell you.
Yes, and this is what the next slide of this slide is about. So there is a lot of data, and the data exists in very many places in the organization, but they are all spread. So we have SCADA here, we have meters over there. There are also a lot of spreadsheets, so Excels with the data that are sent via email. So there is actually no place where everybody can see the clear picture.
Mm-hmm. So decisions are slow, and we heard about that there is a lot of data, a lot of systems, and most likely the systems are not connected. And this is not because this is not possible. This is because this is not so easy task. And we understand that if you have the right tools, you can take the right decision, just like that. And based on this, your outcome will be just better. So you just need to have the right tools, and this is why our RDM comes.
Yes, and Smart RDM is the product, is analytics platform that we've created and successfully developed. So there are some takeaways over there. So please don't hesitate to take a look. So there is a small story about umbrellas. Actually, I've heard recently, because we have also entity in Germany. We are still working on having entity here in Sweden and entering the Swedish market. But why umbrella is so important? Because in German, they say that we won't let you stay under the rain. So it means that we will never fail you down. So that's why we have umbrellas as a takeaways.
Yes, so just back to the main topic. So energy balancing is not about the only software. This is more complex. You need to understand the production, the process itself, but also energy system. And this is why we joined this expertise knowledge, and this is our main domain.
So we are really strong in connected systems and making data usable. We add analytics on top of that and optimization, so customers get real result, not a long-lasting IT project. So we've defined 5 steps. So first, what we do, as I've mentioned, we connect data from different places. Then we monitor everything all together in one view. So then we analyze to understand where the energy changes. What is the main driver? What is the machine? What is the exact line? And where the peaks start and where the failures or losses can happen.
Mm. And the next, there is the forecast, so the prediction, because like you can imagine, now the prices are changes and everything is changed, like even the manufacturing process. So when we get the predictions, we can after that optimize the process itself, but also regarding for the mix balancing of the energy sources. And now I just go and present one of our case studies. So this is our customer from Poland, Ceramika Paradyż, maybe someone from Poland recognized already. So you can imagine like they just struggle with really high energy cost. The main source is gas prices during some the situations. Really prices was quite high, so they decide to have daily control.
So what we did, we just connected production and energy data using AVEVA-Pi. This is some type of historian operation platform. And then using our Smart RDM, our own analytics platform, we were able to give to the customer trusted reports and KPIs. And also what we added on top of that, it was energy balancing, to like analysis, planning, and ERP events.
So the result was like they have the same output, the same production, but with the better quality. Because now we're talking about the artificial intelligence. When we just implemented it, that was just machine learning. Okay? So just simple math, like we doing some recommendation for the operators. But we increase the quality of the product. We do like process was more stable, and first of all, we show them how they can utilize better their energy mix. So at the end, they reduce costs.
And here you can see the result. So those are just some graphics showing what happened after we applied the same logic. So we connected data, we made the analysis, prediction, we approach saving problems earlier. So the final approach was that the customer achieved up to 12% less unplanned downtime, and in the same time, they achieved up to 9% lower energy cost.
So there is no magic behind. There is just the math, like I mentioned. So There is the predictive maintenance. By the way, we have our own hybrid methodology, predictive maintenance, that connect CBM and RCM technology. I will not maybe go directly to the details, but at the end, the process is more stable. The most stable because the predictive maintenance gives the predictions if something will be going wrong. More stable process means less waste and, of course, better control about the energy consumption. And here's some example of the dashboards. Of course, this is only the view, but the magic is behind, like just to have all of this data for the different system connecting and close to real time. Here is the sample of the Sankey diagram, so you can find like we can split the energy consumption between the lines, between the production sites with the machines, and if the wider line, it means that there is more energy usage. So in the simple view, you can define what is the most critical energy consumer, how to better balancing your production and optimize the potential, the waste. Yeah. So on the next slide, you can see like we can just join together data about the process itself. So here we have the OEE, so overall equipment efficiency, and still there is maybe not something unique, but presenting this in the closed real-time data, it's really not easy task. Here you can have the presentation of the CO, carbon emission, and at the same view we have the time series with the real energy consumptions together with the prices, maximum, minimum. So at the end you can connect real production data with your energy data, so you understand what is your production cost, because at the end all of the factories produce for something, for money, for margin, and you can just know what is your margin when you exactly know what was your production cost. And this is maybe simple, but in the reality, like we just discussing, there is a lot of data isolated in the silos, and from the technical point of view, this is not so easy to get it, these views like here.
So at ConnectPoint, we are here to help with energy balancing. So if you have the similar case, so please come and talk to us. We're here to help.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oksana and Marek. Yeah, the next speaker is going to be Mr. Wikner from Metacon.
Thank you very much, Jacek and Jerry, for giving us the opportunity to talk today. I was here, I think it was last year or the year before, I don't quite remember, but 2 years ago, yes. I'm really happy to be here again. And I'm going to talk today about what we at Metacon are doing in the area of green hydrogen. I think all of you have heard about green hydrogen, and it's been around for quite some time now in the presence of this and in the context of the green transition. But actually I noticed that quite few really understand the opportunity with green hydrogen and what we can do with this, and what the reason is why we believe that this is one of the end game solutions for the energy sector and for the green transition. So I will talk not so much about Metacon, but more about why we think this is very important. And also, of course, we see great opportunities with the trade we could do with Poland and the collaboration we could do. So I think that's the main reason why we are here. First of all, hydrogen is not new. It's the most used industrial gas in the world since many, many years. But it's produced from fossil sources. And the whole thing with green fossil-free hydrogen is the opportunity to do the same thing, but fossil-free. So that's why we at Metacon have two different, you could say, technology lines. One is electrolyzers, where you use green electricity or fossil-free electricity to produce large amount of the same hydrogen, but from fossil-free sources, right? Fossil-free electricity. But we also have other sources of energy that can be used. For example, biogas, bioethanol, energy sources that are not fossil, but can be used to produce exactly the same hydrogen. So there are actually many opportunities for us as countries and as societies, cities, to generate hydrogen without fossil fuels. And of course, as a country with no oil or no natural gas, it becomes an extremely interesting prospect to be able to produce our own fuels and do many other things without having to import them, especially in these times of uncertainty, right, in the geopolitical area. And just briefly, what we have as a company is production units for hydrogen, like I showed, from electricity, electrolyzers, and from, you could say, biosources like biogas, bioethanol. And we also have some products supporting the use of hydrogen in different areas. For example, in the transport sector, where we can build refueling stations for hydrogen transports and so on. We are about 75 people now in the company, but we are very international. We have companies around the world in a few places, and I think sales representation in most countries in Europe and in Brazil. So what can we do with hydrogen? And I think here is where this becomes really interesting, right? Hydrogen is not only for running buses without oil or cars. We can actually transform old, dirty industries into sustainable and green. And one such example is, for example, in the steel area or in the fertilizer area, where we can replace coal, for example, with hydrogen and do exactly the same steel, but without fossil coal. And this has nothing to do, of course, with transportation. It's a completely different segment, but the same hydrogen is used and needed for their purposes, right? We can also make other energy sources more efficient. You know, for example, in wind power, it's very powerful when there's a lot of wind, but the prices are also very low then, because sometimes you can't get the power out on the grid because it's too much, right? So the product is, worth nothing when they produce as much as possible. So there's a dilemma in wind power. But then, of course, if you complement this with an electrolyzer, you can produce low-cost hydrogen when you can't sort of sell the electricity, right? So it's a very synergistic situation with wind power. We talked a little bit about road and air transportation. Of course, we want to fly as before. We want to be self-sufficient when it comes to fuels, and this is what we can offer. This is a big market, of course, for hydrogen. Same in shipping. We can provide fuel for shipping without the need of oil. And when it comes to cities, when it comes to resilience, all these technologies can make us much more resilient, much more self-sufficient. Cities can survive and sustain their citizens for a much longer time with transportation, with energy and so on, with these new technologies. So there are many other reasons, you could say, besides the climate, for doing these things. And hydrogen is a central part of this, the way we think and the way we see it. So first of all, this is, I think, an obvious one for all of us. It's an absolutely fantastic opportunity to be able to produce steel without the need of fossil coal. Sweden imports 1 to 2 million tons of fossil coal every year. And now we are trying to get away from this. Aviation, another big area where we as people and citizens we have had this flying shame for some time, right? Because it is a big problem. It's a big pollutant when it comes to saving our planet, really. And it is possible, and big projects in the making for being able to produce fuel for aircrafts without the need of oil. And it's absolutely possible. It's being done. We need to make it cheaper, of course, but this is happening. And the same with shipping. A lot of opportunity to decarbonize and to make shipping work without fossil fuels. And we are involved in green ammonia as a fuel, and also, of course, with hydrogen you can produce e-methanol to run these ships on. So it's exactly the same hydrogen that's used to do all these things. Road transportation, of course, is a very well-known area when it comes to hydrogen for most of us. We think that probably in the early phases it's going to be long-distance heavy transportation that benefits a lot from this, because batteries are not as useful or as suitable for this. And we are involved in several projects where we help, for example, this timber hauler to build hydrogen refueling production and refueling stations for the timber trucks. So it's very, very complementary to batteries when it comes to road transportation, because with batteries and with hydrogen we can get rid of oil completely. Agriculture, final two segments as examples here. Perhaps the biggest opportunity, and also I think a very relevant area to discuss, Sweden, Poland, because we are traditionally very strong in agriculture, and innovation in this area has a huge potential for the future. When it comes to fertilizers, we have a possibility to make fertilizers with our own green ammonia made from hydrogen. And over to the right, you see the product that we have that can actually make hydrogen from biogas or bioethanol. So if you think about a farm or an agriculture plant, they already have a lot of battery vehicles, but you also see now hydrogen coming in as a fuel for these customers, right? Hydrogen tractors, and big companies like Deutz and Fendt and so on are developing hydrogen vehicles. You have JCB making lorries and excavators running on hydrogen. So soon you will have an opportunity to run an entire farm based on your own produced fuels and own produced energy. And this is exactly what the farmers would like to do, to be able to get rid of the diesel deliveries and to be able to cut off the line to the power grids and be completely self-sufficient. So here there is a fantastic opportunity to really change this landscape, right? So this is what the message we wanted to give today, that there is a fantastic opportunity with hydrogen, and we need to help us who see this picture to remind politicians and authorities to look at the opportunities that's available for us here, because it's not only about the climate. The climate will be a bonus that benefits from all of this. But the real important things with hydrogen now is that we can increase resilience, we can increase self-sufficiency, we can create business opportunities, new companies, export income, things like that. That's perhaps more here and now when it comes to needs and an opportunity than the climate we have been talking so much about. That's still the most important thing, but perhaps it's more easy to get attention for some more concrete things, right? So keep this in mind. Hydrogen is about business opportunities. It's about what we can do together. It's about trade. It's about interactions between countries, and there is real business opportunities that we could do with Poland for sure. So I would be happy to talk about that if anyone is interested. So thank you very much. I think that was my final slide. Yes, thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Christer. Now it's time for Anna Naumowicz from Future Processing.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a very weird feeling to speak via microphone, but I think I'll be fine. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Anna. I'm a client partner and I work for a company called Future Processing. We are a software IT consulting and delivery company. And today I will be talking to you about ESG from a perspective of our IT world. So I should probably start talking about environment as a part of the E in the ESG words, or social aspects, or perhaps the governance aspect, but I will not start with that. I will start with the regulatory landscape that we're in currently. So ESG is a heated topic, and I think for most of the companies, the biggest challenge right now is the fragmentation. Because the landscape of ESG is layered and very complex, I'd say. We've got European Union regulations, we've got industry standards, we've got voluntary regulations, or voluntary standards, I should say, and we've got also national laws. So, for example, in European Union, ESG is embedded in the system, right? It is mandatory for thousands of companies. The UK, outside of EU, has its own way of developing all the standards. Switzerland also has its own approach. And some countries, like Germany, introduce their national laws, like, for example, the Supply Chain Due Diligence Act. And I won't even dive into US, where we've got the federal perspective and also the perspective of every state. So what I'm trying to say is that if a company wishes to follow ESG, comply, we do not just deal with one ESG system. We have to comply with multiple overlapping expectations. And that, for me, moves and shifts ESG from just a policy into a true and operational challenge. So the question is there even an angle of ESG in IT? Well, of course there is. So environment for IT, it is mostly about energy. Some of my colleagues here, they've already discussed energy and how important it is. So when I think about environment and IT, I think about data centers. I think about cloud usage. I think about infrastructure. I think about thousands of AI prompts sent every day that needs, the energy, the computing energy. And energy means emission, and it also means cost. Social aspect of ESG, it is mostly about trust. So our customers ask us, can we trust you with the system you're going to build? Can we trust you with our data that we're going to share with you? But it's also mostly about people, the diversity in a large part, and also the skills of the employees. And governance, that's control. What is your approach to cybersecurity? What is your approach to AI? How are you going to document what you're going to do? How you control risk? So this is what ESG is from an IT angle, our perspective. So I'd like to start with compliance first. First of all, the regulation. In European Union, companies that are covered by the requirements of reporting the sustainability, they have to report not only on themselves, but also on the vendors in their supply chain. This means that we, as IT vendor, we are asked for data, documentation, and structured answers. If we cannot provide these answers, we cannot work with, most of the time, large enterprises. Second part is the client's requirements. So large enterprises, they also have their own requirements. If there is an ESG risk in the supply chain that is visible for the company, obviously this risk and the requirements, they are pushed down to the vendors. And a great example is Apple. It perceives energy use as an operational risk. This is why they've introduced and launched a special program for the vendors that obviously is a guideline on how to comply with Apple's requirements. And yet again, the message is very clear. If you cannot comply with the expectations and requirements, ESG requirements of your clients, you cannot work with them. And the third part is the capital and risk. Investors more and more consider ESG factors when making decisions. In general, if you comply with ESG, whether it's through voluntary standards or the GRI regulations, you are perceived as a low-risk partner from a perspective of an investor. But it also means that potentially you may gain access to cheaper capital, especially in very capital-intensive industries like manufacturing, for example, and it means you might get access to cheaper financing. So apart from the things, the compliance things, let's say, the official things that I've just mentioned, we have seen a shift in the last couple of years. First of all, the procurement. More and more, in order to participate in a tender, we are asked to reply to some specific ESG questions. And they often act like a gate. They are no longer optional. If we cannot answer them, there's no way for us to submit our offer. One of our clients, existing clients, has quite recently invited us to participate in a tender. This client is from an insurance industry. And the ESG questions accounted for 10% of the total score of the RFP. And when the technical proposals are quite similar, well, 10%, it really makes a difference. Second, partnerships. We track every single question and request we receive from our business partners and also from our potential partners. And more, we can see that, actually I have a specific data for that. When I compare year 2024 to 2025, the number of requests we have received doubled. The absolute number, it's not high, but the direction is very clear to us that ESG questions and the requirements, they are becoming a part of a standard due diligence process. Talent. According to the studies, and thank you so much from our colleagues from the Port of Ystad for mentioning that, 70% of Gen Z and millennials consider sustainability when choosing an employer. And in IT, and I think many industries would agree with that, but in IT, hiring and retention are critical. So I do believe that ESG really matters in terms of who's going to stay within the company and who's going to leave. And the fourth one is the operational control. In general, if a company decides to implement ESG reporting properly, it improves risk control, it improves the structure of the data and the documentation, which as a result may bring better operational control. So as I said, I represent Future Processing, and we are a company that has non-financial reporting. And we are learning to navigate it in a practical way. And definitely I wouldn't be standing here if not for our ESG team, Małgorzata and Jacek, and they are responsible for gathering all the data in the reports that are listed here. And I must say that it is true that ESG started for us as being kind of a checkbox that, you know, we just had to check. But it quickly moved to influencing, to some extent, if we're going to win the contract or not, if we're going to attract the enterprise client or not, if we're going to attract the right talent to our company or not, and also if we're perceived as a low risk partner. And I think that in case of European Union, ESG really starts as compliance. But for companies that approach it seriously, it may become the competitive advantage. And to close up, I would like to use the metaphor that my colleague Jacek very often states, that reporting is like a family photo. The financial reporting is the main shot of the family members, so the parents and the kids. But non-financial reporting is the full picture. Everybody gets included into the frame. From the cat and the dog to a poor cousin in the third row. It really shows everything. And it shows how you treat your stakeholders, internal and external, how you treat your clients, your partners, your employees. And I do not believe I am revealing any secret knowledge here. I am definitely not, especially in that room, and I do believe that we represent mature companies here. And we know that ESG is not a whim. It is a requirement, yes, driven by regulatory needs, but for large organizations, it's already an obvious part of doing business. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. And now I would like to ask Klas Johansson, CEO of Fever.
1,300 gigawatts. Who can relate to that number? Great. I'll take you to this journey. That's the expected installed capacity in 2030 when we're looking at residential assets. What kind of assets? We're talking solar panels, home batteries, EVs, and heat pumps. Those will make up roughly 120 million assets out in Europe. It's quite a lot. I know we're halfway through the keynotes, I guess, so I'm going to try to kickstart your brains again here. How many in this room has solar panels? 5? Batteries? Okay, more have batteries, exciting. An EV? All right. And heat pump. Okay, good stuff. Then you can see the growth in Europe the coming 4 years. So next time we're in this room and do this exercise, there will be a lot more hands, 15 times as many hands. So let's see, I think this group is maybe not representative. And Poland really differentiates from the average in Europe here. There's already 1.4 million prosumers in Poland, a lot of PV installations. But in all other sectors, Poland will exceed the average growth in Europe. So, why am I excited to be in this specific room right now? We have an opening speech mentioning that Sweden might be slightly ahead when it comes to building a green transition. We've been doing this for quite some while, and we learned a lot of lessons along the way. We have deregulation since way back, we have advanced metering, and markets are fairly mature. So we tried things out here, we learned a lot. Now it's the opportunity for Poland not to catch up, but to leapfrog us. So instead of trying to retrofit this to their system, regulatory frameworks are being set up right now, and the potential here is amazing. And learning by our mistakes, you can make that journey much faster and much smarter. But what you need to do this, you need a flexibility platform. And I'm going to take you through the journey of what flexibility platform could contain. And there was some mentioning in our earlier keynote here, it was very similar, which is good, that we're doing good stuff, both of us. First of all, you had 120 million assets that I mentioned. You need to connect to them. This is not only about talking MQTT or RTU or Modbus. It's about making that journey smooth for the end user. If you're a household owner, you have kids to feed, you have dogs to walk, and life to live. So that journey needs to be super smooth. Next thing is to optimize. And this is a common mistake in the industry, that you start top down. You look at an aggregate, let's say you have 200 megawatts, and you try to optimize that pool of assets. But again, each household has their own constraints, their own capabilities, so you really need to start bottom-ups and do this optimization on the household level. Next thing is to aggregate. So then you come in and look into, okay, what happens if you pool all these assets together? How can they contribute together? How can they compensate for each other and unlock new markets? And the final part is trading. How do you create the value? So simplified, you have something that's called behind the meter. That's moving energy within your household. We mentioned PV or wind producing when the prices are low. You don't want to consume energy then. You want to store it for later when it's expensive. But then you have front of meter, and those the classical markets are spot markets where you pay for energy, but there's also a bunch of other markets, flexibility markets, that you want to participate in. So these are the fundamental cornerstones in having a flexibility platform, and this is key to unlock those 120 million assets that's going to be out there. And the title of my keynote, as everyone remembers, I guess, is Partnerships in the Green Transition. So when it comes to residential flexibility, there are three main parties that need to be on board for this to happen. You have the energy retailer, you have PGE, Tauron, Enea, all these big actors in Poland. They already have a large customer base, an existing relationship. They have a strong brand and people rely on them. This is very important. If someone is going to control your heat pump or your EV charging, you need to rely on them because you don't want to wake up in a cold house with an uncharged EV. But they might not have the core capabilities needed to build a very technically complex platform. Here's Sifvert, the technical platform. So we have very good expertise in building technical complex systems. We're very focused on what we do. And this is again coming back to partnerships. Instead of trying to be in all the rooms, find your thing and do it well, and then let others do the things that they are doing well. We also operate our multiple markets and regions, so we can take the learnings from different markets and bring that into a specific market like Poland, understand the local constraints or capabilities, and apply those learnings. The last one is the OEM, so the manufacturer of hardware and the installer. When we started this company a couple of years ago, I was even more naive than I am today, and I thought, let's just connect all the assets. We do cloud to cloud. It's going to be super efficient. And then you go out and you see an inverter manufacturer does not think about a local flexibility need. They build hardware globally. So we need to find ways of connecting and controlling those assets. But the OEM needs to think about this, the new future. Take an EV. Who had an EV in here? Raise your hand again. Great. So the EV manufacturers, they need to think about when they sell an EV today, are the seats comfortable? Is it good looking? Is it fast? Is it range and so on? Tomorrow they also need to understand how does our asset become a part of this? And already today, if you have a Volkswagen, they have limited the amount of energy you can extract from that vehicle to 15,000 kilowatt hours over a lifetime. Buyers of vehicles doesn't know this today, but tomorrow this is going to be one of the check boxes. If I buy a vehicle, I need to know that this vehicle can support my household when the energy prices are expensive. So these are like a mindset shift for OEMs that's going to be super important. And then of course, when an asset is bought and installed, that's the first kind of touch with the customer. Then you need to make that journey from the installation of this asset all the way to its participating in building a resilient grid. That needs to be a smooth transition. So who am I to talk about this? Fever Energy was started in 2022. We had no clue about energy. We come from the tech sector, but we realized the transition is going to need all the help it can. Today we have a reach of 600,000 households in Sweden. We're active in other markets as well. Our customers is tripling the revenue on their customer base. So today selling energy is a commodity. It's a low margin game. With us, they can triple the revenue. And I myself is a customer of one of our customers. And I have negative energy bills from June to October. So I get paid every month by my energy companies. Meanwhile, they're tripling their revenue. Quite a good business case. And today we control around 100 megawatts, but it's very early in our journey. So that's going to grow exponentially, hopefully. So if Sweden is the lab, Poland is the launch pad. Let's go.
Great. Thank you very much, Klas. Our next speaker is going to be Alexander Sifvert from Candela.
So, listening into a lot of interesting talks today, I think we're going to talk about something pretty brand different right now. We're going to talk about flying boats. And trust me, we will show a bit of a video as well, because you cannot kind of talk about flying boats without showing them actually flying. This is, however, pretty far from a concept or prototype. We've been around for quite some time now, and I guess the best way to describe them is an implemented way in the green transition. And nowadays within the public transport or the passenger ferry domain. Some of you that I've talked about earlier have heard about our leisure boats, but right now Candela is focusing fully on the business-to-business market and to transition public transport systems or private transport systems where you basically need to take people over the waterways and want to do it in a smoother and emission-free way. So let's see if this movie works. I'll tell you a little bit. It's not going to be focused on the technology today. It's actually going to be focused more on the business case. But this is one of the ferries called Candela P12. Flying is a nice populistic way to describe it, but obviously it's foil system underneath. These foils can carry this vessel with up to 30 passengers. They can manage waves up to roughly 1 meter significant wave heights, which actually means that occasional waves can be up to 2 meters. So they're pretty agile even in a bit more tricky conditions, not only kind of lakes and rivers. When we're flying, the whole hull is above the surface, and the whole idea of doing this is obviously energy reduction. It is electric, so it's electric propulsion, it's electric motors that Candela developed ourselves. But the key thing with the whole product is not really that it's electric. Electric is just a very convenient energy source because it's available out there in the docks. We have plenty of good harbors, like in Ystad, where they've kind of built out the need of this kind of energy. And also, when we make the boats efficient, like this one, we also have a very little need for energy. It basically consists of roughly 3 electric car vehicles. We have 378 kilowatt hours of energy, which is really small in a kind of ferry taking 30 passengers. So we have been doing this for quite some time, roughly 11 years right now. As I mentioned, we started small and then we basically grew from there. We didn't have any kind of hope that we would try to crack all the troubles and issues of making something that wasn't out there in the market in the kind of first attempt with a big boat. So we started with a small 7-meter vessel. We sold them around 2019 to 2021, built 30 units. Then we learned a lot from that process. We built a bigger, also leisure boat called the C8 in the middle. In the same time, we also developed our own motor for these vessels. And we sold around 100 units of that vessel and serial produced them. But in the same time, we were aiming for the business-to-business segment. Because in the end, if you look on the leisure boats, they are like 500k euro worth each single boat. It's obviously a premium boat. You're not going to change the world with that kind of products. And we pretty early had a strategy to go into the business-to-business segment. So 2022, we launched the first concept of this ferry. And then everything went pretty quick. So 2023, we launched the first real model flying around here in Stockholm. And 2025, we got the first contract to operate. And some of you might have seen them actually operate here in Stockholm within the public transport system. I'm going to tell a bit more about that very soon, because the region of Stockholm has launched their final report with all the conclusions of running an electric foiling ferry in the public transport system. This company has been around for some time. Gustav Hasselskog is the founder, engineer, a fantastic boss to have. He loves details, he loves engineering. I've been around in this company since we were around 10 people, so very much of a garage band at that time. I think I told you a little bit now about the kind of journey of getting here. We are roughly 240 people today, still though building all the vessels in Stockholm. So our factory is in Rotebro. Then we have sales offices in Bangkok as well. And we have a pretty neat list of shareholders. And we're going to make another kind of big press release very soon on that topic as well. But not allowed to tell yet. So why did we head into the kind of public transport or private transport sector? A lot of cities have problems with congestions. It takes forever to go somewhere via the road. On the other hand, the waterways are basically just lying around there and underutilized. And if we look on some different examples around the world, there are obviously, when you use the waterways, there are some pretty obvious places where, okay, you don't have to go all the way inside of the Bay Area here. You can shorten the distance. But given the congestion and the gridlocked situations, you can normally motivate even kind of taking a detour on the waterways in terms of travel time and still have a kind of better solution for the ones traveling. So this is a very common situation, and also it's the same situation in Stockholm where we had the first project going. However, trying to do this is, it seems kind of, just if you look on the physics, it seemed like a bad idea to try to electrify vessels. There's a reason why there haven't been a lot of energy efficient or emission-free vessels out there in the market for a long time. Because if you look on the energy need for a boat, it's way higher than a bus or a car. It's roughly 15 times more energy needed per passenger kilometer. Then if you want to make this with electric energy, the density, energy density of batteries is roughly 15 times less than in a fossil fuel alternative. So kind of combining these two says it's a bad idea. And that is also really why, even though there are some countries like Norway, for example, has been really in the front of making electrification on the waterways as well, they have a pretty inefficient electric fleet of ferries. They need a lot of batteries to compensate for this big hull that's going to push through the water. They need also, therefore, a lot of investments on the infrastructure on the shore. An example with the 250 pax ferries for a megawatt charging system, which costs a lot. And there's a fun example is that one of the just cables to charge this is like 20 kilo per meter. That's the weight of the actual cable to charge it. Of course, they found automated ways to manage this, but again, that costs. So the overall situation is quite complex if you don't do something radically new. And that is what Candela went in for about 11 years ago. So by building a lightweight vessel, that's an important component. The vessels are built in carbon fiber. So anything that flies, an airplane, helicopter, whatever, they need to be light in order to have them fly easily. But then we also wanted to do something about the friction. Foil systems are very efficient. You reduce basically the drag, meaning the resistance, with some 75–80%. And then we also added to that with making an own motor that is very efficient. It's let's not dig into the motor. It's very efficient. Just trust me. So that's what we did, and the kind of end game what we are doing here for the market is roughly 80–90% less need of energy per passenger kilometer while traveling on the waterways. Then again, it's quite a small vessel, so we get a lot of questions from our clients around the world. Why can't you build a bigger vessel? And the first question is not really if we can or not can. The kind of technology itself can scale up to at least 100–200 passenger ferries, but it is physically a bad idea. Because the bigger you make a vessel, basically extending the length of a vessel, that means that you can add more rows of seats in it, okay? Fantastic easy to understand. However, the kind of number of seats is proportional to the length of the vessel, but the weight of the vessel is the square of the length, meaning that you will always need a lot higher need of energy per seat in the vessel. So if you think that the end game here is really about energy efficiency per passenger kilometer, not really where the energy comes from, just making it energy efficient, then it's always better with smaller vessels. And on top of that comes all the other benefits with having smaller vessels and starting thinking micromobility on the water. By having a fleet of vessels, you obviously increase the departure frequency. If you increase the departure frequency, you get a better service, meaning you're going to have more people traveling. And that is really normally what the governments and authorities really want. They want to replace like car transport with people using the public transport. And you also actually increase the cost efficiency by having a fleet, because a huge issue for almost all authorities and cities having public transport at sea is the utilization level. So how many people in average are using one of these big 200 pax vessels? And the kind of city average is roughly 8 to 12% utilization level, meaning they are just transporting air most of the time, and they're paying a lot for transporting this air. So instead, by having a fleet, you can have the kind of full-size fleet on rush hour, and then you can put some vessels aside and still have good utilization level. Or you can use the other vessels for other routes, which would never really get a big vessel. So having a fleet makes it much more flexible. And finally, governments around the world is starting to realize this. Then we have the actual cost benefit. An electric flying carbon fiber vessel is more expensive to buy. But when we take the kind of capital cost, investment cost, write-off time, together with the operational costs, this is just one example from City of Stockholm, where we reduce the cost per running hour with some 38% compared to a bigger 200 pax vessel. So we are not really selling these boats because they are electric or because they're emission-free or that it's a nice ride to just fly above the waves instead of slamming through them. We're really selling them now around the world because of the business case. And as I mentioned, we just had the final report from Region of Stockholm, which is a public document, and I'm happy to share it with anyone. We had 9 months, almost a year, of live operations, 2 seasons, 2024 and 2025, where it operated. And the conclusion has been that the emission has reduced by 94%. They also concluded some other nice things, that the waves is roughly 0.1 meter, so it doesn't really disturb the shoreline or other vessels or kayakers or other vessels on the water. And it's about as silent as a car traveling in 45 kilometers, even though the vessel is traveling in 25 knots, almost 50 kilometers per hour. But I would say that the most interesting part on this route is the travel time. So with one of our vessels, the commute time is roughly 25 minutes one way. And if you take the car in rush hour, it's twice the time to get in. And then we have the one in the middle on the top, where they calculate not only the kind of cost or running costs per hour, but take the whole socioeconomic picture when analyzing this, where you can see that it's a lot less cost from a full socioeconomic effect by running this Candela P12 vessels than their existing vessels. And on top of this, we have like 95% positive or very positive guests, well, travelers, commuters. So if you read about us in the Swedish news lately, it's been described a lot like a big success. We're grateful for that. And even The Economist picked us up the other week as well. Some might have read that article. And if we take a quick look on the specs of the boat, 25 knots, that's the speed when traveling on the foils, corresponding to roughly 50 kilometers per hour. 40 nautical miles means some 85, 90 kilometers that it can travel on just one charge. Wake we have discussed. Right now we have 9 in serial production here in Stockholm. One thing that's not mentioned here, but what about the charge time and the charging infrastructure? The very interesting thing, if you just look on it from an economical perspective, what happened in Stockholm when they needed to take one of these vessels into live operations is that a forklift came and put a charging station, costs roughly 60,000 euro, put it on the dock, connected it to the existing electricity grid, and then they were good to go to charge. So they actually had 65,000 euros or something like that in investment cost on the charging infrastructure. And they didn't have to adapt any docks either, because it can adapt the front ramp from water level up to roughly 1.9 meter. Operational conditions, mentioned it, but it's not an ice-breaking boat, obviously. It's built in carbon fiber. I think in Scandinavia, they normally call it like the 300 days boat. Say between 1 and 3 months per year, there is so much ice that you need to have a replacement vessel, or people need to go by bus instead. There's no real issue with the cold itself, but ice, that's not good. We're building everything in serial production here in Stockholm, meaning that the hull, the technology, the helm station for the captain, the foil system, everything is the same on all vessels that we build in this size, but you can have them for different purposes, different interiors. P12 shuttle, that is the kind of bus version that we had in operations here in Stockholm. We sold a lot of the business and Voyager, more fancy interior. It can be used for water taxi, hotel transport. We also have a kind of touristic version, but that is just kind of interior and deck layout. Everything with the technology is the same. There's also a cargo application and a concept for a crew transfer vessel, so basically a workboat. But again, you can see the lines that the actual hull is the same. And I think the technology cornerstones I mentioned, foils, motor, flight controller, didn't dig into the kind of software topic, but obviously the kind of core value in Candela is not that we're building stuff in carbon fiber, that we have a foil system, it's really the software that is managing and balancing the boat while it flies. Good. At this moment, we have roughly 42 vessels lying in the production queue. As I mentioned, 9 of them are being produced in serial production now in Stockholm. But we have around 18 to 24 months of just lead time to wait for delivery. So this has been very well received by the market. And the reason why I'm here today, I understood from Jerry that we got the invitation once before. Sorry we couldn't attend at that time, but now we can. I'm here. But we are very interested in Poland as an area. We've been looking into a few different areas where we could operate in a good way. And here, south of or north of Gdynia and Gdansk, it's an interesting route, for example, up to Hell. That's an interesting name, but that's the name. 1L, Hill. And normally what we do when we identify different areas, there are also interesting lakes and rivers. But for this specific area, we dig into wave statistics to find out, is this suitable? Can we have enough operational days per year? We go into tidal, we go into depth, etc. But then we dig into maybe the most interesting part, and it's tons of figures, sorry for that. But again, showing the kind of business case calculation. So now we compared ourselves with the existing company that is operating this route today. We took, since it's a lot of tourisms, we took 150 days per year of operations. That's it. We said, okay, maybe 70% average occupancy. We took the same ticket price. And then we also noted up on 31 minutes that we basically halved the travel time from the existing ferry. And with only 281 passengers per day on this route for 150 days rather than 360 days per year, we will have basically double the ticket revenue compared to the costs, including all the capital costs and interest rate electricity, staff costs, service and maintenance. So we kind of try to add everything that's out there for the business case to show what the business case margin could be. And this is just one of the examples. And if anyone has any more kind of tips or ideas for us at Candela, where to start in Poland or interesting companies to talk to, we have obviously just started up to look into this. So we'll be very happy for any connections. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexander. I think you might also look at the Mazuri region, which is full of lakes. Maybe some people there might be interested. Okay, so yeah, we were so efficient that we got to the final presentation. So much about efficiency today. And so the last speaker is going to be Stefan Engeseth. I hope I have not butchered the name. And we are going to be talking about the recycling.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me. So it's the second time I'm here, and I'm happy to be here. And of course, thanks for the invitation to Jari and all the members in the chambers. I'm going to take you through my 5th book, and before that, I will say I've been written 4 books before. I've been doing this for about 30 years, working as a consultant, speaker, and a coach for different organizations. And mainly what I do is speed up evolution and move corporations to the future. That's what I do in different ways. So this book started out when I was going in school. I was about 8 years old. There's a smart company in the audience from Poland here. Naturel. I can see them. But I was going in school, and I didn't believe my teacher, which in history class. I was about 8 years old. I raised my hand, and I said to my history teacher, "It's not all right to lie in front of children if you're a teacher." I tried to explain for him that this is a bad idea. So he sent me to the principal, and the principal called my mom and said, "Your son is too cocky to be in school." And I had that feeling I had my whole life when I watched the news. Is it really true, the things they're telling in the news? Because it seems so stupid that we're destroying the planet, we're having multiple wars, we never learn about anything, nearly. So I started out to work with this book, and I worked with it for 8 years, and been doing a lot of research. I didn't believe in the beginning that scientists will talk to me because the title is a bit provocative, if you say so, and a little bit. But instead, it was the opposite. So I've been speaking with scientists all over the world, hundreds of them, doing interviews. And it's so interesting, the topic, for me, that I could do the research 100 years more. But right now, in the world, we have a really bad situation for Earth because of us, but it's a really good situation for my book. So it's the interest is really good, and it's really sad that the interest also good in that sense. But if we look into the mirror, what do we see as a species? Do we see a smart creature, or do we see a stupid creature? I guess we see both. But it is an interesting question. And as an example, we've been talking a lot about energy today. I believe strongly that there is already free energy out there, but we are not maybe smart enough to see it and discover it, just like the fire and a lot of innovations out there. So there is solutions, and I'm not the only one in history see that we are a bit stupid as a species. There are many ones who have reflected on it, but I don't believe there's anyone in the world spent 8 years doing the research in our stupidness as a species. I may be the only one doing that in history up to now. So maybe I'm the best in the world when it comes to stupidity. I'm not sure if that's a good thing to be, but it's at least something. So, but if we go to Professor Harari, who says that human stupidity is the most powerful force in the world. So if we have 8 billion people to recycle. I didn't want to do a negative book about our species. I wanted to do a positive book where we can learn and where we can develop and we can recycle our stupidity as we do in sustainability or anything else. So what I did is I also study recycling, the business model of recycling. I even been working with recycling corporations to study them, and also in my research I've been together with a therapist for 20 years, and that's a good way to discover a lot about your own stupidity, if you say so. So that was really a good way to save 1,000 crowns an hour, you could say. So, but if we start out with these two questions, which I think is very important in our time. Is there intelligent life on Earth? Well, there's a lot of scientists raising this question right now, seriously. And do we really deserve this planet? I don't think so, not right now, but we need to change the way we treat the planet. Otherwise, we need to have a big move to another planet, maybe. and the planet are starting to get enough of us. So we need to change, and that's why we're having this seminar, and that's why a lot of corporations are changing the way they work to be more sustainable and to cope with the planet and ourselves. But I hope no one has walked out, so you listen to what I'm saying. But I boiled down 10 questions that I think is very important, and I want you to discuss the questions with yourself and someone sitting beside you for a few minutes. Which of those questions do you feel is most important for you and your organization? Okay, my ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone who want to raise their arm and say the number you think is interesting and maybe a reflection of it? Or yes.
The studies about journalism and communication that humans seem to react more deeply and be more affected by bad news. You know, that the brain is wired to be provoked and have the why am I clickbait, you know, on Facebook and that sort of thing. I'm just going like, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, and that hits me more strongly than good news. There aren't news series that are all good news, you know, on TV and that sort of thing.
Thank you. A big applause for that. All right. So it is very interesting. I believe strongly that media is a great force to change a whole species if they include positive psychology and sports psychology to give us positive news. And also what I did is, because if we recount the existence of Earth, we've been to 24 hours, we've been here 15 minutes, and I got 15 minutes to talk today, so that's very important too. But everything we, in science, we base on those 50 minutes, but I went back to the existence of Earth, 4.5 million years. That's why it did take 8 years to write the book. And what I found is really interesting in the whole development of our DNA. We needed conflict to develop as a species, to become humans. But that reflection is too dangerous today because we are too dangerous as a species for ourselves and for the planet. So we need to change, and media could be a big game player in doing that. So that's very important. Okay, so if we look at corporations, because I didn't write this book for corporations, but business media, they wrote about it, and I got invited to a lot of corporations because they say a whole corporation is stupid, dysfunctional, and it costs us a lot of money. And actually CFOs tell me, a Swedish company, they actually started to find out that it cost them 20 million crowns a year, stupidness. So they need to change the whole way they work in management and so on. And also now, 2025, in economics, this fellow, Philip, got the Nobel Prize in creative destruction. That means that anything that a corporation have is, the value is minimizing over time. So you need to innovate, you need to develop your corporation, and it's very stupid to stand still in that sense. But if we look at corporations in the big picture, I see it as a talent garden. And as a talent garden, one of the most stupid things corporations do is that they spend millions to attract talent and zero to keep them. So they end up in a brain drain as a corporation. Instead, you should see it as a garden where you get your talent to grow and to keep them and to attract them. But also, if we look at AI, because I study AI a lot, because it's so interesting, it's smarter than us, and it has the potential to get into our bodies and get smarter and into our brains. And there's a lot of interesting things happening with technology in that field. So I studied a lot, and what I see, there's a special field actually where scientists in AI are trying to, and they will hopefully find a solution soon, is how we can speak with animals. So in a couple of years, maybe you will work together with the giraffe or another species. And what's wonderful with this is there are about 8 billion species where we can learn from them. And if we can learn from the species and talk with them, I personally believe that we can replace medicine, chemical medicine with organic medicine, and we can learn a lot about free energy, as we've been talking about here today. And we can have the whales tell us where in the ocean they need help to balance the water, and if the birds can tell us where there's a forest and fire and so on, so we can be a part of the whole ecosystem again, which is basically the problem we're having with sustainability, is that we're dysfunctional from the planet and from the whole ecosystem. So this is very positive, I believe. But if we go back to the book, Homo Stupido, it's where I get most of the requests to connect the content of the book, how to be less stupid and become smarter as a species, is in this topic in corporation. So it's sustainability, and there's a lot of requests when it comes to AI, because AI is something that will improve our smartness very much. And also what I see is that Homo sapien is much more dangerous than AI. So that's very important. And human research, leadership, innovation, there's a lot of different fields where you can adapt the learning points from the book and from the discoveries I found with doing all the interviews with the researchers. And there are amazing, good research out there we can use to change the way we treat the planet and to change the way we live. And if we look at the news today, there's a lot of things we need to change, and we need to change it quickly. The capabilities are in our brain and in our nature. So with that, I will also say that if you like to read a book, I have a special offer for you today, only for you here now. If you connect on the internet, on LinkedIn, or send me a message if you are connected, I will send you the book as a PDF for free, only because Jerry is such a great fellow. Yeah, he got more energy than all the energy systems we have in Sweden. So with that, I would say thank you so much for today, for having me here. If you have any questions, I will be here. And if you have more questions, you get the book. You can read it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Yes, that's true. Jerry is the power plant of the chamber and and the Swedish-Polish business relations. Thank you very much for this part. We have gone through all the presentations. Now we are going to have a short break, and we will move on to panel discussions. Let's begin the panel discussion. So here you can see, I don't know if you can hear me, here you can see the name of all the panelists, but we decided to divide the panel in two parts, so there will be actually two panels. And to the first one, I would like to invite Johan Wallén, Torbjörn Jonsson, yeah, Tabea Schott, and Marcin Kotlarek. All right. All right, so let's do a round table. So yeah, if you could just tell us about who you are and what you do.
Yes, my name is Johan Wallén. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at the Ports of Stockholm. Yeah, obviously a port in the Stockholm region, but and 100% owned by the city of Stockholm, but we're actually active in 3 municipalities. Nynäshamn, where we also have daily departures to Poland, to Gdansk, and Norvik as well, also in Nynäshamn, Stockholm, and then in Kapellskär, which is in the municipality of Norrtälje.
Hello, my name is Torbjörn Jonsson. I'm representing the Chamber of Commerce here. I was invited by Jerry, the power plant, and joined last autumn. As I work in Alstom, but I'm not representing Alstom. And I have been working with development of traction system, of electrical motors, electrical drives, electrical transformers over 35 years, ABB, Ericsson, Bombardier, and Alstom. So I speak about that. Thank you.
My name is Tabea Schott, and together with my business partner Jan back there, I am running a company called Business Innovation 360. And in a nutshell, you can say that we work with startups and scale-ups, both supporting them with strategic questions, but even very hands-on support. So it can be everything from helping them to get ready for an investment to really being venture builders. So that's in a nutshell what we do.
And I can add here, I don't know if you know, but we started a YouTube channel of the Chamber where we record podcasts with our strategic partners and members. And Tabea and Business Innovation 360 is one of our guests. And you can watch the podcast with Tabea and Jan on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, share.
Marcin Kotlarek, I'm the CEO of Race for the Baltic, and after 25 years of corporate career, I moved to this NGO space. I was partner with Boston Consulting Group, BCG, and I worked with banks, with private equity companies, media, retailers, and so on. And now I'm working for this good purpose together with my colleague Fanny Tamratz, the Deputy CEO, and we are working on projects that are dedicated to improving health of the Baltic Sea, and we work a lot with companies actually also with the corporate sector. So we are looking for solutions that are kind of win-win for the companies and for the environment.
All right, so we have a port, we have an engineer, we have innovation, we have people that are gonna save the Baltic Sea.
Together.
Let's start with a general question. So we talked today. We had the presentations about the green transition. So for me, it is interesting because we have a different level of advancement, you know, in different countries. And from your perspective, where do you think we are right now? Like from the things you do on a daily basis, if on a scale from 1 to 10, how far are we in the green transition from your perspective and from your experience?
I see the eyes directed at port, but being at the microphone. First of all, maybe I would like to take a little bit a different perspective. So there is the phenomenon called tunnel vision in climate view, and it's the phenomenon where everyone looks at CO2, actually, yes. And now with companies, with the regulatory world, we see increasingly that actually the tunnel is expanding to also what we do, so more towards water and nature. And being here, actually, we are a Swedish-Polish NGO, so we work on the common shared sea, which is a joint resource. And you asked Jacek for the scale. I think maybe let me start. We are working on so-called problem of eutrophication. Eutrophication is the problem of nutrients, so phosphorus and nitrogen getting out of land, mostly with rivers to the sea. Nitrogen so nutrients come from agriculture, from wastewater, and from industry mostly. And there have been a lot of negative development happening since 1960s, where countries in our region got strongly industrialized, when agriculture became very intensive, when the population urbanized, and there was extremely high, a steep curve of nutrients getting to the Baltic Sea. And then you could see one point in time, which was year 2000 roughly, when the curve started, or where the line started to decline. And this is when basically Poland and the other countries joined the European Union. And there was extremely high investments into wastewater, especially municipal wastewater, industrial wastewater, and so on. And the second thing is EU introduced a couple of directives, especially for agriculture, so nitrogen directive and so on. So you could see this line going really steadily down to what is called maximum allowable input, and we are still we are getting there, but we still have a big gap there.
Okay, so you're close.
Yeah, I can continue. So I would agree with you that there's a gap and we still have quite a way to go. But I would also like to take a step back and actually look at sustainability or sustainable development from the very original definition, which is that sustainable development, it covers 3 dimensions. So it covers the ecological dimension, the social dimension, and the economic dimension. And I do think when we look at the ecological dimensions, then we see, for example, the planetary boundaries, and we can see we're overshooting a lot of them, and things are not necessarily always going super well. Even on the social dimension, some things are going well, others are not so much. But something that I think is exciting and very much a move in the right direction is that we see, for example, that renewable energy is becoming cheaper than fossil energy. So just as one example, so we do see a convergence between those dimensions, and it's no longer that we want to act sustainably to feel good about ourselves or to use that as sort of marketing or branding for companies, but it's just becoming more of a core principle of business because it just makes sense from every dimension. And I think that is a very positive trend to observe from my perspective.
Yeah, and I can continue with 2 observations, and that is the green of the energy. To me, and reading statistics, it means less carbon dioxide from oil, coal, etc., so that you use energy in a more cleaner form. So you have energy. For example, most of you used a battery today, correct? In your watch, in your phone. Most of you used a semiconductor today, in your clock, on your phone, etc. So those technology has come out, so we are aware of them. There comes the green energy, you're using electricity. You don't use coal or diesel or petrol to fuel up your clock or phone. So there is a transition. Next one is efficiency, and that was what I worked with many years, because an electrical motor have 94 to 97% usage. You convert electric energy to torque, 97 about. So that's very efficient. An automotor have 30, 40 at max. A diesel have more, 60%. So that is a knowledge with us. It is a knowledge in the society. And I've seen many examples from you. And another thing that happens when you have battery semiconductor that you took up, I think it was Sifvert that took up, then the electrical distribution network, it was a distribution, production, consumption. now it goes to a grid, and I think it was some other speaker that does that, and that has only started.
Yeah, we talk about ports and where we are in the green transition. We are working as the Ports of Stockholm, as Ystad talked a bit earlier, both with our own footprint, so to speak. But what we think is even more important is also that we can develop a means to infrastructure for the modal shift that we think is needed, where you transport goods and passengers in a more sustainable way, meaning moving away from road to sea and to rail. So that's what we have invested heavily in and try to be prepared when, because I say when, that modal shift is going to happen for real. We see it somewhere, but I really believe that we will move in a more sustainable way when we really need to move cargo and passengers in a bigger way. So we are trying to prepare our infrastructure for that. So I think we have a big opportunity going forward.
We can try to make this this panel a little bit more interactive with the audience. So I will check every now and then if there are some questions from the audience. Anyone? Oh yes, there is. Okay, let's start here and I'll get back.
Hello everyone, my name is Diana and I studied IT at the Royal Institute of Technology and have been working for United Nations programs over 10 years with the sustainability, and we have quite a big problem now because of e-commerce. I study sales currently, and we observed that the quantity of returns in orders regarding clothes and so on is huge, and it's just overwhelmed. All returns are for free, which means that one can order many articles and then return it for free. And what happened here between Poland and Sweden, that the return that does not go directly to Sweden back, it goes to Poland. So for example, someone order in Stockholm, it goes to Poland, and then it goes back to the final station to Gothenburg with the PostNord. And somehow it will need to be done, some kind of effective solution from the digital perspective. Maybe, Tabea, it will be nice business innovation for you in case your colleagues could have some idea about that. What do you think?
Yes, that's a little ad hoc brainstorm, I guess, about solutions. So we specifically, we're not IT consultants or developing solutions like that in-house necessarily. But as with everything, and as I was talking about a little bit earlier, I mean, ultimately it needs to come together that things need to make business sense. And unfortunately, as it seems right now with e-commerce, it's sometimes cheaper for companies to take these detours for their returns and do all of that. But I do think that there is either the way that governments come in and they force a change, or companies themselves realize that there are more efficient, smarter ways of doing things. But unfortunately, sometimes when it is simply cheaper to do it that way, then it is very hard to get people to change.
Maybe while the microphone will travel, I have a perspective related to e-commerce or technology, not from the one that you mentioned, but actually it's also important to watch the trend, the technology from the water resilience perspective, right? So we hear about data centers, and there was, I think, mentioned today, data centers, cooling, and so on. And at the same time, Europe has issues with water resilience. There is even water resilience strategy for Europe. Actually, each of the large tech companies, they design their own water resilience strategy. I was looking at the strategies of Microsoft, Google, and so on, and they all actually they obviously recognize the trend. And as we speak, and basically checking with ChatGPT, that costs water for cooling the data centers and so on. Actually, the large companies, they do some compensation measures. They work now increasingly on water retention. So like things both circularity of water cycles. So actually reusing the water that is used for cooling for other purposes that don't require such a top quality water, so maybe for irrigation and so on. So this is a very important trend connected to e-commerce and technology. And and the second one is nature-based solutions. I think there was a case even here in Sweden where I think Amazon, with the data centers, they actually invested in wetlands because that helps with water retention, so that they reduce the risk of water scarcity for their purposes. So just a bit different perspective related to water on the big tech.
Okay. So let's. Oh, there will be one more. So, but I think you were first. So.
Thank you, Sean Williams from Mundus International. Having spent 10 or 15 years. Involved in tracking what's going on in the green transition, it feels like that things are on a bit of a down phase at the moment, but then haven't been that close to it. So interested to hear the panelists' perspective on how you're finding the environmental agenda given what's going on with political trends, both in Europe, Sweden, and broader.
So maybe I will start and then pass over. Because we do a lot of nature restoration, as mentioned. So we do nature-based projects like wetlands, like river restorations, working with agriculture. And as you say, that there is this trend also with regulatory omnibus. I guess some people here might speak more about that. But what we observe is a need for a different framing. So if you frame, especially the water topics, which are like working on water retention, water quality, water pollution, finding water pollution. If you put it in the context of nature, it's less powerful than when you put it in the context of water resilience, which is a security topic, which is to some extent defense topic, right? Which is the highest priority. So even we in Poland, we work with the Ministry for Climate and Environment on the topic called nature credits. And even this very particular ministry, they don't call it nature credits, but they found a name, resilience credits, to better packet for the corporate world, so that the corporate space is basically more eager to invest rather than purely in nature. So I think you're right. The topic is at least how I feel it, less hot, but with a different narrative, it's still high on the agenda.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting observation, and I would agree with that. Also from the perspective of innovation and the startup and scale-up ecosystem, that we do observe a different narrative. So while maybe 5 years ago everything was about climate tech and green tech, it feels that over the last year or so everything has become about defense and dual use, and that's the center of tech. But I think that while, of course, those topics have become more current due to obvious reasons, the renewable energy and sustainable solutions are still very much ongoing. But a little bit like I was talking about earlier, I think it's also just become a more natural part that makes sense for businesses to just incorporate it into what they're doing. So the same way that a lot of corporations published sustainability reports 10 years ago that had nothing to do with the rest of their business. It was just this add-on that was more of a marketing initiative really than anything else. Now it just makes sense for them to have, for example, power purchasing agreements to purchase renewable energy because it can simply be cheaper and smarter than fossil solutions, again, as an example. Or having EV fleets that they can get certain subsidies for, and so on. So I think that's also a reason why we don't highlight it as much anymore, perhaps, as we did 5-8 years ago.
I can underline what the two panelists said here. The demand of copper is very high, means a lot of manufacturing of electrical motors, and a lot of this green transition has been daily business. So batteries is manufactured. Okay, it went little trouble for Northvolt, but now Leighton is starting up Västerås and Skellefteå. Hitachi is building a new building in Västerås. They are building in Smedjebacken all over for these grid sales. It has just started, but it's not people that buy it. It is the governments. So we don't see it. And as you said, it has evaporated to other things in the media.
Yeah, I think for the shipping industry, it's this uncertainty that you are talking about has made it more difficult for our customers, meaning the shipping lines, the shipping companies, in what they are supposed to invest in when it comes to the fossil fuels and so on, and the regulations. I think that's the most important thing, that we need a long-term commitment on EU level or even a global level for our companies, for them to make it easier to choose the right vessels to invest in, the right fuels, the right technology, and so forth. So yes, I think you are right that, let's say in the last few years, it's been a little bit more difficult for our customers given the new circumstances. But I really hope that everyone can agree that we are on the road to a green transition, and I think this is just a hiccup right now, and that's what I hope for at least.
Okay, we have another question from the audience.
Thank you very much. Karonica, I work for electricity market, actually. And I wanted to ask you if you have any concerns that actually this green transition is getting into some kind of stagnation or slowdown. And I heard a lot about batteries and semiconductors. While semiconductors, I have no experience about batteries. I think, as my predecessor, we are getting in some kind of geopolitical moment where most probably we do not have either know-how or either enough resources, mining, heavy industry, to get those batteries. Do you share the view, or do you have any concerns there? Thank you.
Okay, as I started to mention batteries and semiconductors, yes, I have concern, because it involves rare earth material, and that is problematic. Yeah. Delivery times of semiconductor, when I do my job, is 1 year. From order to delivery. So it's extreme delivery times.
Please. Yeah. I would actually like to add another example there related to raw materials and rare earth materials in specific. So I have actually, I used to work for a materials startup, specifically working with innovations around silver, which is a material we take for granted a lot in daily life. And what many people don't think about is how important it is for example, solar cells, because all of these like tiny fine lines that you see under solar cells, they contain a lot of silver. And without those, solar cells wouldn't function. But we know that if we want to install sufficient amounts of solar cell, we just simply don't have enough of the raw material at the rate we're consuming it right now. And it's not only renewable energy, it's also competing with, for example, data centers and other applications. So I agree with you that there certainly is a concern, which why I think is, or that's one reason why I think it is quite fun and motivating to work with innovation. Of course, we cannot solve all of these problems tomorrow, but I think that over the course of human history, it's been human ingenuity that has helped us to move forward, to find new solutions, to get more efficient, to get better. So I do have hope, but I also think that if you purely look at the numbers, yes, if we go at the rates we're currently going, then it's going to be very difficult to produce enough batteries and solar cells and so on.
I want to give you a bit of the story from our work. As some of you might know, Poland has been one of the largest, actually second largest fertilizer manufacturer in Europe, after Yara, right? Yara is in Finland, and there are some companies in Poland that produce fertilizers. The byproduct, the waste of the production of mineral fertilizer is so-called phosphogypsum. Some of you who would go to Szczecin, there is a huge mountain that actually the locals call White Mountain. It is 150 million tons of phosphogypsum that has been put there over decades, within 5-6 decades, and it's sitting there. And actually, phosphogypsum is not good for water. Phosphogypsum is actually lots of phosphorus. But then at the same time, we are a small organization. We are just 10 people, so the collective stupidness is probably relatively low. So we have a PhD guy in chemistry, in chemicals on the team, and he found a solution, a patent that you can actually recycle phosphogypsum into rare earth elements. And it turns out that this phosphogypsum that is sitting there is actually from the Kolia, I think it's called Kola Peninsula in Russia, which is actually having those rare earth elements from decades ago. Now they get it from Morocco, which is not reaching that. But actually, what we found out together with the partner that you can, with the circular economy, you can get out of the waste, you can get rare earth elements, you can get phosphorus, which is a critical mineral, I think, today for European Union. So it's also, and the prices skyrocketed, right? So I think there are some things are fading, some things become softer as trends, but some new things actually emerge as opportunities for companies as well.
All right. I think, Torbjörn, you came here also with one interesting case. I know that you cannot share everything about the project, but I think we have still enough time for you to tell us about the big project that you worked on.
Yep. Thank you. We worked on R&D in the company Bombardier, and that was a test we decided to do, a demonstrator. We tested full silicon carbide, higher power transistors. The basis was that it was a new generation of full bridge. Now I'm talking engineering language, sorry for other. But this had been tested over a couple of years, but it was not successful. So I met with some of the development heads, and I got some hints how to do it, and together with the colleagues we put together called demonstrator out of the lab. It's a one-off built, and we put it on a C20 car, a metro car in Stockholm. And it did run 30,000 kilometers and was successful. So it was a full silicon carbide is a wide band gap semiconductor. So it's to have even higher efficiency. And why I'm talking about this? Yeah, in semiconductors you have gallium arsenide, you have silicon carbide as the new materials. They have much lower losses, and together with that you can run your electrical motor if you have a flying boat. You can run your processes if you do, for example, hydrogen in this with a much better. And you can run the electrical motor that you already have, and it was 9 dB less noise in that. And noise is kind of losses also, in fact. So it was a huge step, and it was deemed very successful. And it's a little bit fun because it's official. So Energimyndigheten, RISE, Acreo, KTH sponsored it, and SL was a little nervous, so we started to run in the nights on an unspecific color line. So we could run in the night and to see it because it was out of a garage converter from the beginning, and then we took it back, modified it a little bit, and then it got approved to run. So that and then it was approved, studied, safety case, everything, and then it did run. So that was fun to do.
Thank you very much. We are out of time right now, so please put your hands together for our panelists. Thank you very much. And we are moving on to the next panel, and I would like to invite Axel Nilsson Lindström, Eva Hudmacher, Patryk Figel, Moa Andrén och Tobias Lewandowski. So once again, a round table, so if you could please tell us who you are, what you do.
Tobias Lewandowski, and I'm the co-founder of Econans. And we have a platform for helping property owners to be more energy efficient, to come down in costs and carbon footprint. And at the same time, we connect them with the right financing. So thanks.
Hello, my name is Eva Hudmacher. I run a company called Snabbfoting. I work in the intersection of strategy, leadership, and organizational culture. My companies are most companies in transitions, leadership changes, or M&A. I have worked with different business sectors.
Hi everybody, my name is Moa Andrén and I'm Head of Sustainability Advisory at Aspia, which is a firm helping companies with accounting, payroll, expatriates, and I'm from the advisory leg of this company. And we help companies with their sustainability reporting, identifying risks and opportunities, and how to incorporate that into their business plans, set targets and policies and so on.
Hello everyone, my name is Patryk Figel. I'm a lawyer, and I could go for quite a long time about telling what I do. So I'll be very brief because everyone has been very brief. I help make the energy transition happen in Poland and the region. So I'll be very happy to take any questions you have about how the renewables go in Poland or the region, and what is next to come.
Hello, my name is Axel Nilsson Lindström. I'm a manager at Svalen Atlas. It's mainly tax and transaction advisory, and the ESG services a fairly new part of the company as well. We're currently 3 people, but still working with large companies, helping out with so ESG due diligence, strategy, capital raising, and those type of questions. So yeah.
Okay, so it's clear that we have now a panel that is more on strategy, legal matters, how to actually navigate the transition from the strategic perspective and also from money perspective. But again, a very general questions. Where are we right now in terms of the transition from your perspective and from the perspective of your clients? Can you share that?
Okay, thank you. I'll start then. Well, I mean, I see, other speakers pointed this out, that, I mean, it's been quite a turbulent political environment right now. Regulation has been rolled back. Less companies, are under the CSRD directive and so on. But what we see in our clients is that, it's a little bit business as usual. I mean, climate issues are not disappearing just because regulation is being rolled back. So what we see is actually an enforcement of these types of regulation into the day-to-day operational business. So how can we go? They're going from compliance to more, value-added business creation policies today. So I think it's very encouraging to see this, but it's not as a hot topic as it was a couple of years ago.
I started in this business area 20 years ago with responsible investments and ESG investments. And when I look, how was it 20 years ago and what is now, lots has happened. When we started Invest, with the first responsible funds, like a clean tech fund. I was part of set up that clean tech fund in Stockholm for ABN AMRO 20 years ago. Much has happened because we selected companies that had part in the clean tech sector, but we were also involved in companies where we had a discussion with the company boards, etc. Now it's on the table for so many companies with these questions. But I still see we have lots of things to do. We can invest more in the people, the purpose-driven young people, the behaviors, how we can act on change. Change is in some way slow. What we saw when it was the corona, we changed so fast. We can change in this sector fast as well. But then we need to do other regulations, structures, etc. So we have still lots of opportunities.
Yeah, interesting. I see it as two parts within the banking industry. One is a lot of maybe frustration or time have consumed understanding the regulation and reporting, and not maybe enough time has put into the transition plans to implement them. And I think that that also have been disadvantages for the green bonds and financing system that will financing the transition. So I hope that we can come from understanding regulation to implement them and implement the transition plan.
Can I just add on? I think that's a really important point to make. That I mean, what we see, in the reporting is that you set all these great targets and ambitions, and you produce a transition plan, but the financing connected to that transition plan is lacking today. I think CDP came out with a report saying it's only 11% of companies today that actually have financial backing of the implementation of these transition plans. So this is a crucial point, in the coming, greening the economy and driving it forward. So, excellent point.
And I will get back to the financing and the bankability of energy projects in Poland. But to answer your question, where we stand right now, I just Googled, what is the energy mix of Sweden? It's 98% of it's carbon free. So it's all, let's say, green energy, 98% right now. In Poland, we have currently 52% of energy mix within the energy mix of the green energy. When before we joined EU in 2005, 98% of our power was produced from fossil fuels, mainly coal. So within this almost 3 decades, we have made quite a lot of on a fairly high pace, and two interesting things, without any plan whatsoever. So it was all a business-driven situation, because the Polish government has been supporting the development of the renewable energy, but in a way that was not really helping. So this all has happened. This all has happened just by the nature of the market, and that's why I believe we still have a long way to go. So from 52% down to 25, hopefully within the next 15 years, which is ambitious. But what we've done in the meantime is we have really developed a lot of onshore energy, onshore wind. We have about 12 gigawatts in the capacity onshore. We have about 24 gigawatts in PV. And the weather conditions are not very different between Stockholm and Warsaw, I must say right now. But Poland has put a lot of into the PV, both the residential and the large scale. This year, it's really interesting. The first offshore wind farm will go into the production. It is Åland and Northland Power Baltic Power project, which is 1.2 gigs. And by 2030, we should have about 2 additional offshore wind farm projects becoming productional. So this is quite a lot, but still a lot to do. The main thing, I believe, is just the bankability. And the bankability proved to be there, so we need to see more capital coming to Poland. Also, other than the banks, so private lending, that's very, very important to move things like geothermal energy, which is not the most orthodox one. EV charging infrastructure, that's another area that is very interesting and still with the difficulties for its bankability. And then battery storage, that is becoming bankable, but still in its early phase. So a lot has been done, more to do, and we need a lot of money to do this.
Well, what we've seen quite frequently is that many companies, they have like a plan for science-based targets and like a transition plan, but they don't really know the pinpoint to like specific activities or that actually help them succeed with this plan. So we've helped them with like setting a positive like net like a NPV, but also like accounting for all the CO2 emissions. I think quite many companies are stuck in only using like scope 1 and 2 because it's quite easy to get a hold of. They should also like include scope 3 as well to get like an accurate perspective of the emissions in itself, and not only like rely on the good like on the grid as you were mentioning, because then I think quite many Swedish companies have been relying because it's only like 100% green, but they don't really look into the production of the company or like of the products, but only focus on like the maintenance or like energy efficiency and so on in real estate and so on, but not the full picture of the operations.
Is there a question from the room? Yes, there is.
Thank you so much. It's a bit a question and a bit of challenge. Actually, maybe second one this time. Swedish energy mix is actually 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. You are very correct. It's CO2 free, but let's remember is 1/3 is a hydro, built in 50s, 60s, heavy investments, infrastructure. 1/3 is the wind, and 1/3 is the rest. So basic nuclear and all other. And I think when we are going to green transition, I think there is importance to distinguish if we are talking about nuclear green transition, if we are talking about photovoltaic, solar, or wind. I think that's the actually focus one should discuss. Because there is one thing, and that goes as well to the grid, that there will be a moment, although wind and solar is basically energy for free, but when it blows or when sun shines, and it's very hard to store it, and there will be a moment where there need to be equilibrium. And I think Sweden is very lucky because it has, through the history, this equilibrium, 1/3 to 1/3 to 1/3. It was never planned like that. But Sweden, as it is today, is already has a challenges with regards to grid and how to take this energy. And I think the same will be in Poland. That's my personal opinion, of course. And I think it will either impact the grid investments, it will be basically too much photovoltaic or wind energy at the same time, and grid will not be able to handle it, or will be actually the question how to balance the fluctuation in the grid, so to build, for example, nuclear. Hydro, I think, is impossible to build in Poland. It was a long monologue, I'm sorry to that. I had to correct it because that's what I work with. But maybe finalizing with a question, having that equilibrium in mind, that even if we would love to build 100% wind and sun, do you see any challenges with the banking, with the investments, and how the transition actually is turning? Maybe that would be my question.
It's a very good question. Thank you very much for that. Let me just take it, and I will let the other panelists answer. Absolutely, I agree with you. We have that issue. So the energy mix, and I, for me, from Polish perspective, and that's the official line, and I'm together now with the Polish government. Nuclear power is the renewable energy. So that's why I believe, that's why I said 98% renewable. So I know some countries take a different view on that. Yes, that's our problem right now. So with 52% power from green energy, 52% power from coal, the rest is coming, let's say, from the pure green energy. But what about the baseload production? Because the power from coal gives us this baseload production when it's all the time producing the energy, no matter what. And you're absolutely right. We have renewable energy when there is a wind or when there's sun. Currently, we had no sun for about 3 or 4 months, and we had a little wind for the last 2 or 3 months as well. So what the Germans would call Dunkelflaute. And that's a problem for us. So what is the plan? The plan is we need to go nuclear. And that's going to cost a hell lot of money, pardon my French. And that's also, on the agenda of the government to change the baseload production profile, which is key. Because we can build, you're absolutely right, as many intermittent assets, but we will be basically, it will be impossible to run the national energy system in that way. I'm not touching right now on the grid. The grid is a separate story, and it's the Polish government, because the grid in Poland is 100% owned by the state. The transmission grid and the distribution grid is semi-owned by the state. So there is a lot of money for that, but to enhance the pace on which the grid is being developed, that is a difficult task. There is plenty of money coming mainly from EU funds. There are also private foreign investors who would love to invest into Polish grid, but the TSO is saying thank you, no thank you. That could change over the time, but that's the current situation. So to answer your question, definitely we need to secure the baseload production, because the current coal-fired baseload production is not only expensive, bad, pollutive, but it's mainly old. And we need to decommission these coal-fired power plants within the next 5, 10, 15 years max. And what we will have, to replace them, not really much, because the nuclear power plant will only come online, the government says, in 15 years. Let's be realistic, let's give them 20 years. So 20 years from now. And what in the meantime? We need gas peak boilers, which is expensive to have. We need even more renewable power from more, let's say, stable sources like offshore wind. And then we need to be smarter when it comes to using the electricity. At the same time, we need to expand the pace of the electrification of the country. More EVs, more Internet of Things, more battery storage, and smarter usage of the power. So that's a really long way for us to go, and again, super expensive. So we need to be prepared how to finance that. But these are all the challenges, and thank you very much for the challenge and the question.
Yes, hello, my name is Jan Skålhammer. I'm Norwegian, live here in Stockholm, the CEO of Novi Ocean. And our company touches upon what the representatives did earlier on, talk about the balancing of the grid. Now again, grid is unbalanced. You can introduce some wind and solar when you have a base power, like nuclear or coal power. But like in California, they have been saying that if you have like 80% wind and solar, the cost goes up 9-fold. Why? Because the battery storage. very expensive. So what if we could solve that balancing of the grid in a different way than batteries? There's actually one way, not so common yet. If you're on vacation somewhere, you go to the beach in the evening, and then you see that there's no sun, there's no wind. What do you hear? Waves keep coming in. So right now it is not that developed yet. Many companies are working on this. My company also. Interesting thing is that for a certain sea area, you can more than double energy output for that square kilometer if you combine wave power, wind power, and solar power. And water has also real estate price. So if we can increase the utilization of that water, that sea area, and also have it closer to land because our system doesn't make any sound, hardly visible. Put together those things, so I think the grid can be solved in many ways. It's not only wind, not only solar, it's not only geothermal or wave power combined. But I'm happy to talk more to you afterwards, Patrick, and I think we have a solution for Poland and also for Sweden. Thank you.
All right. So now it's time for the final round. One last question. We've heard of many perspectives today and the trends that are, changing maybe or adjusting. So the final question is, green transition now, is it a risk or opportunity from your perspective?
100% opportunity. But I think we all have to see the business side of it, and I think Candela was giving a really good example before today. Talked about the operator cutting costs by was it 30%, and also the customer cutting time, traveling time with half an hour. And with that kind of thinking, it's 100% opportunities, and I think there could be.
It's both a risk, but you can eliminate all your risks, and a large opportunity. When I see it, it has started moving, and we can make it moving faster. We can make decisions faster. That is and add all the right behaviors, so lots of opportunities.
I mean, I would almost go even further and say that it's a necessity, right? I mean, there are both risks and opportunities, but if we want to continue tomorrow, we have to look at these risks and opportunities. We have to integrate them into our business models. We have to secure the financing. 100%.
I really like what you said about that. This is a necessity. It's absolutely a must soon. I mean, given what we're hearing in the news since last 2 or 3 days. I mean, what else can we do? I think we have in Europe, in EU, we have the ability to produce the biomethane. We have all the feedstock that we need for that. So there's again opportunity, necessity. The risk is I think lies only in doing this too late. So the sooner we do, the better for us, I guess.
Yeah, I have basically nothing to add in this. I think it's highly important to just start as soon as possible with any business initiatives you have. Include it in procurement processes. It doesn't have to be full. Large scale operations like the grid and so on, but focus on what can you as an individual company do, and don't miss out on focus on other sustainability topics while doing it as well. So and also I think we're missing out. I should have framed this, but the climate adaptation is still super important because the transition moves a bit too slow as it is right at the moment, and that could damage important infrastructure and so on as well.
All right, thank you very much. I hope we finished on a positive note today. Thank you very much. All right, so we managed to get to the end of our today's seminar. Of course, there will be a networking part right now. So for all of you who are here in the room, please take some more coffee and continue your business talks. And for the ones that are online, thank you very much. And I would like to thank a couple of people. First of all, our powerhouse, it's Jerry who organized this event. Of course, I would like to thank Mats Vara for taking care of the technical aspect and streaming the event. Dana Rogoza, great cakes. Please try one. And of course, visit the website himelska.se, where you can buy more if you wish. And I would like to thank Jesper Regua, who is taking care of our marketing and sending out invitations. So probably some of you received the invitation from Jesper. My name is Jacek Ziolkowski. Thank you very much.